today's video is can you guess?
Why'd you bring the camera rig?
Because I'm busy. That's the only time I can film this.
Can you at least give me a second first to prepare? Hi guys, I'm Ray. I'm the Freedive Nomad, and today's topic is about my Octopus Teacher. Seriously, you can shut off now. So I am kind of a Netflix addict, and the first step in overcoming an addiction is admitting your problem, which I just did, and a YouTube video about it. Netflix has done it again and came out with another amazing documentary, the My Octopus Teacher, and I am a total sucker for stories about people deepening their connection to the ocean and everything in it. God knows we need more ambassadors advocating for her. But I'm gonna have to be pretty frank about this. Frank, the main character in the documentary, what he was doing was quite dangerous and, unnecessarily putting his life at a higher risk. He appeared to be an untrained freediver. The problem we have today is that the perception amongst non-freedivers in the mainstream is that freediving is pretty dangerous, extremely dangerous, in fact, some people believe. When I told people that I was moving to Indonesia to train to become a freedive instructor, a lot of my friends and family, they're like, Ray, be careful. Freediving is so dangerous. And yes, freediving is an extreme sport. I like to call it the quietest extreme sport on earth. But a lot of the risk associated with freediving and breath hold underwater can be significantly reduced with education. The mainstream, you don't really hear about freediving until somebody actually dies from freediving. And for the most part, those who die from freediving are untrained freedivers. There's an Australian Olympic snowboarder who died a few months back freediving or spearfishing, and people like Craig.
Where are we going now?
We gotta drop off my farewell gift to my first student in Vegas, Blake. What I don't want is people to watch My Octopus Teacher get inspired to go in the ocean and think that they can go dive on a breath hold without proper training. That's very, very important. Oh, nice shirt.
Boom mic.
See if it fits.
Oh my gosh, and it's purple.
Of course it's purple.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Look at the mermaid tail. I'm sure it's just for the mermaid tails, yes? How do I do this? Do I pull it on the side and flip it?
Yeah,
Can you think this fits?
I think it probably works.
Molchanvos,
baby.
Nose clip for freediving.
Yeah.
You
It's
like it?
really strong. If I breathe
Yeah,
out,
oh my God,
it doesn't
yeah.
even look, equalize. Easy. Watch again, equalize.
The bottom line is what Craig did was risk his life. The way he was diving and holding his breath underwater. And I feel like as freedivers, or at least freedive instructors, we do have a responsibility to educate others about the true risks of freediving. There is some inaccuracies in mainstream media. Hey guys, you see that red button on the bottom right there? That is the subscribe button. Do me a favor and hit that button. After you click on it, a little bell will come out. Click that if you want to be notified when I come out with new videos. So I just wanted to talk about what I've been working on through the whole COVID-19 is I've been writing content or producing content aimed at the total beginner freediver. So who's this for? Obviously it's for those who have been thinking about taking a freedive course and don't really know where to start. It's also for those who are already freedivers. You can send that over to your friends or family who don't understand what the you do. And And finally, it's also for Freedive instructors who have some prospective students, and you could send or refer them over to this content. Hopefully, it'll help convince them to take your Freedive course. So I'm going to first go through 6 mistakes that Craig made, which significantly increased his risk while breath hold diving or free diving. And then later I'll go into more details onto each mistake. Number 1, never dive alone. The first rule of free diving is to never dive alone, because if you black out when you're free diving and you're doing it alone, you will die. It's that simple. Number 2 is diving without a wetsuit. Craig was diving in really, really cold conditions, and when you do that, you consume more oxygen, which increases your chances of a blackout. Number 3 and 4 are kind of related. Number 3 is that he was overweighted, or he wasn't properly weighted, and number 4 was that he didn't do a proper duck dive. And the reason why they're related is I believe that he was overweighted because he can't do a proper duck dive. But the easier it is to go down, the harder it is to come up. And coming up is the hardest part of the dive when your oxygen is the lowest. And so you want that to be the easiest part, not the hardest. Number 5 is keeping the snorkel in your mouth when you're below the surface. Now, if you see somebody on YouTube or posting on social media a video with their snorkel in their mouth while diving, I can guarantee you 100% that they are an untrained freediver. Even if you are a freediver, a trained freediver who forgets to take a snorkel out of your mouth, you would at least know to edit that part out before posting it onto whatever, social media or YouTube. Having the snorkel in your mouth serves no purpose. It only increases your risk, which I'll explain later. Number 6 is recovery breaths. Now, I'm not 100% sure of this because the video cuts out really quickly after he surfaces, but it doesn't appear that Craig does proper recovery breaths. Recovery breaths is a technique which quickly replenishes your oxygen levels after you surface from a dive. Simply prevents blackouts, as you can still black out when you surface from a dive. So now let's look at a couple clips from the movie. So here we have a really pretty shot of him diving. Actually, it's a drone shot of him diving, and you know, he's not diving alone when he's being filmed, but he does mention in the documentary that he does actually go out alone diving. He does say that, you know, the ocean there is some of the wildest and scariest he's ever encountered, which, you know, I mean, look at those swells, and I mean, he could drown or you know, get thrown into the rocks and get injured. The other risk is blacking out, which is when his oxygen levels are too low and loses consciousness. And as you continue watching this video, I'll explain to you and point out to you the mistakes that he's making, which accelerates him into a potential blackout situation. And if you're alone and you black out, you die. It's that simple. He mentions that the water is about 8 to 9 degrees Celsius, and that is really cold. So Craig says he doesn't wear a wetsuit in the cold for 2 reasons. Number 1, he says that in the cold, it helps upregulate some of these positive neurochemicals or neurotransmitters from his brain or to his brain, which can boost mood. And yeah, if he's depressed, which he seems like he is, this could help. Number 2 is that he says his instinct tells him not to wear a wetsuit and have a barrier coming between him and the marine life, but I think his instinct is wrong. I've seen plenty of divers with wetsuits on interacting with marine life, no problem. In fact, I've just seen a photo of an octopus attaching to a scuba diver with a wetsuit on, as well as a tank and everything. So not really the case there. Scuba bubbles is actually what marine life is afraid of, and you know, he's freediving, doesn't have that to worry about. Look, I am all for cold immersion therapy. I even do it sometimes, and I can relate with him. It feels fantastic, but this is not the right situation to do it in. In a freediving course, you are taught how to conserve your oxygen because that will equate to a longer breath hold. Now, not wearing a wetsuit, you are colder, your body's working harder
to keep you warm, and that's going to push you or accelerate you into a potential blackout situation. In the frigid waters, you do risk pulling soft tissue, like pulling a hamstring, or experiencing barotrauma, which is the tearing of soft tissue under hydrostatic pressure, like your lungs or your trachea or your sinuses. So stay warm, kids. Wear a wetsuit. So you can read the subtitles here, how his equipment has to be perfect because he's diving alone. I mean, he takes such care in his equipment and perfect and keeping it perfect, but he could actually reduce his risk substantially simply by investing in a freedive course. I mean, his dome lens and housing on his camera cost multiples of what a freedive course would cost. Look at that. Looks like he has at least 5 kilos, and that is heavy. I mean, I don't even wear that much when I'm in my 5 mil cold water wetsuit. And with the neoprene, I'm really quite buoyant. And look at that. Oh, his duck dive is practically non-existent. I mean, he just dips his head underwater, bends at his hips a little bit, and just starts sinking, which is really, really dangerous to sink that early in the dive. I mean, I don't even start my sink, or what they call free fall in freediving, until I hit about 18 or 20 meters, but I'll explain more about that later. And that is his son sinking from the surface like in Mission Impossible. And as I said earlier, the easier it is to go down, the harder it is to come up. And you're coming up at possibly the worst possible time in a dive, when your oxygen is at its lowest levels. Now, a large majority of the blackouts that happen, well, I want to say 90+%, happen between 10 meters to the surface. Now, I need to evoke a lot of physics concepts here, but suffice it to say that between 10 meters and the surface, you experience the largest drop in the oxygen available to your body, thus risking blackout. Take a freedive course to find out more detail of why that is. Even if you have a trained dive buddy with you, if you're overweighted, you're going to make a rescue a lot more difficult for your dive buddy. Now, there are some practical applications to be overweighted, like Ocean Ramsey, the shark conservationist. She wears a lot of weight so she can float at a certain level to interact with the sharks. But Ocean Ramsey is a freedive instructor, and she knows what she's doing, but Craig doesn't. And just for reference, here is a clip of me doing a proper duck dive, though not exactly perfect. Now, keeping the snorkel in your mouth while you're diving is as useless as the Aegean lasagna and is as dangerous as a corrosive O-ring on a space shuttle. The human body is an amazing piece of work. It literally knows if you've blacked out underwater, because it does something called laryngospasm, which is when your vocal folds fold over, blocking the air passage so water does not flood your lungs. Now, if the water do flood your lungs, it makes it exponentially more difficult to revive you after blacking out. But that's only if your mouth is shut and not sucking on a snorkel. In a freediving course, you will learn recovery breath, which is a technique to replenish your oxygen levels very, very quickly. Recovery breaths prevent blackouts. You can still black out after surfacing, so immediately starting recovery breaths after you surface can greatly reduce the chance of blacking out. Now, if Craig blacks out at the surface, because he's overweighted, he would just sink to the bottom and will have no chance of surviving and will die. If he is properly weighted, he will stay on the surface, either face up, which gives him a chance of survival, or face down, which, no chance of survival. And in the final scene here, we see him finally not diving alone and diving with some buddies, but I still hope he would take a freediving course. So I've linked below a YouTube video, which is a compilation of freedive competitors blacking out. Now, this is different than Craig for a number of reasons. First of all, the freedivers do know their limits, and they know they are pushing it. However, they're doing it in a safe environment. There are safety divers there, you can see there. And there's also a number of safety measures that they're taking, which is beyond the scope of this video. But Craig doesn't even know he's pushing his limits, and he has no safety to rescue him if he does indeed black out. Now, last year, I saw on the news this American guy, his name is Steve Weber. He was on holiday with his girlfriend in Tanzania. They were on an offshore water cabin which had a room submerged about 10 meters below. He dove down there and through a window in the submerged room. He had a handwritten note writing or proposing to his girlfriend. And he never made it back alive. Just this July, Alex Pullen, he was a two-time Olympic snowboarder for Australia, died while spearfishing alone. In the news, he was described as a seasoned freediver and spearfisherman. This is an Olympic-level athlete, very fit, and he still died. Even Steven Weber, his family described him as a very strong swimmer, and he died as well. Craig is very lucky he's not dead. People often underestimate the ocean and breath hold diving. My number one goal of this video is to convince the inexperienced to not hold their breath underwater. If you want to do this, please, please, please take a freedive course and you'll understand the risks and you'll be taught the skills and knowledge to mitigate those risks as much as possible. Craig has no doubt inspired many people to go out in the ocean and connect with it. And that is wonderful, awesome. But just don't hold your breath and dive underwater. If you want to do that, please take a freediving course. Dive safe and never dive alone.
What do you want?
Oh, sorry. I'm finishing editing and I just realized I forgot to do the end.
Oh, okay. If you like this video, please comment below or comment about any friends you have or family that free dives alone. And please share this video to everybody you know who dives alone. I hope this will help them, or at least educate them of the risk of doing that, or, you know, whatever. Oh, free diving alone. Go away.